Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. What if I told you that behind the towering minarets, fragrant gardens, and shimmering palaces of the Ottoman Empire, there existed a secret world? A world where young boys were trained not just in courtly manners or academic disciplines, but in the art of pleasure. They weren't slaves, they weren't soldiers. They were male concubines, groomed, adored, and then, like whispers in the dark, forgotten in the Ottoman court. These boys weren't hidden in shame, they were flaunted as symbols of wealth, power, and masculine prestige. This isn't just another footnote in history, this is a story of desire, betrayal, and a societal paradox that will leave you stunned. While many think of harems as strictly female domains filled with veiled women and sultans' lust, that's only half the story. Across ancient cultures, Persia, Greece, China, men too were kept for beauty and companionship, and the Ottoman Empire was no different. Here, male concubines were a symbol of sophistication, their presence was normalized, even celebrated among the elite. But don't be fooled, being cherished did not mean being safe. Behind every smile was a shadow, behind every silk robe, a cage. Take, for example, the haunting and almost mythical tale of Tahir and Tib, two young Ottomans captured by Christian noblemen. Most would expect torment, chains, and pain, but instead, their captors fell in love with them, lavished them with gifts, and showered them with kindness. For a brief moment, it seemed love had triumphed over politics. But reality crashed down hard. Society, both Christian and Muslim, wasn't ready for their truth. Their love, while pure, was labeled as perverse, and the punishment, imprisonment, shame, and separation, that was just the beginning. In this video, we're peeling back the layers of history to uncover stories just like theirs, tales of boys brought into the court not as servants or slaves, but as beloveds. The Ottoman Empire, stretching from southeastern Europe to the Middle East and North Africa, was one of the most powerful forces the world had ever seen. Under the rule of sultans like Suleiman the Magnificent, the empire reached its peak in culture, military might, and administrative sophistication. But beneath the surface of laws and empires was a realm governed by emotion, secrecy, and forbidden pleasure. Beautiful, talented young men, sometimes as young as 8 or 9, were handpicked for their looks, their grace, and their promise. They were taken into the imperial court, often from conquered lands, and housed within the palace walls. There, they were trained in music, etiquette, poetry, politics, and how to please. These boys, known as yemaks, lived in gender-specific quarters, closely monitored by palace officials. Venetian envoy Benedetto Ramberti noted in awe that up to 500 youths between the ages of 8 and 20 lived within the palace and were considered the delight of the senior. They were not allowed to leave until they were deemed worthy of public office or until their beau. They were groomed not only for service but for admiration. Many sultans and high-ranking officials openly kept such boys as companions, and no one blinked an eye. You see, the Ottomans didn't define sexuality the way we do today. They didn't categorize people as gay or straight, instead, they classified lovers based on dominance, the active and the passive. A man could love another man, and it wasn't considered abnormal so long as he maintained a masculine role. But love, true love, was always at risk. For centuries, these relationships thrived behind palace walls and among military ranks. Even janissaries, the empire's elite soldiers, participated in these arrangements. For many boys, being chosen meant escaping poverty, gaining education, and living in luxury. For the older men, it meant companionship, prestige, and beauty at their fingertips. Some yamaks were even granted tax exemptions in exchange for their loyalty and service. To outsiders, it might have looked like a dream, but was it? This entire hidden system was delicately overseen by the Sultan himself. He had the final say on the lives, futures, and even the love affairs of these boys. Many never left the palace until they were considered ready for power, for politics, or for marriage. But things were about to change as the empire opened its gates to Western diplomacy and ideas. Foreign concepts of sexuality, sin, and shame crept into Ottoman society. By the 18th century, these once celebrated practices began to retreat into the shadows. Homosexuality, though still practiced, was now hidden, whispered about, and increasingly condemned. A dark cloud loomed over the pleasures of the past. Then came the blow that shattered everything, the Penal Code of 1858. According to the law, anyone who publicly committed acts contrary to modesty and shame could face jail time of up to 1 year and steep fines. In Istanbul, government-endorsed violence followed. Men were beaten in the streets, their heads were shaved in humiliation. Some were sexually assaulted. The message was clear: there would be no more tolerance. Many asked, why now? The Quran had been unchanged for centuries, so what brought on this newfound hostility? Historians point the finger at Western influence. As European notions of morality and modern civilization took hold, Ottoman society began to internalize them. Where love had once been fluid, it was now regulated. Where passion had once been poetic, it was now criminal. The West didn't just bring science and steam engines, it brought stigma. And yet, some dared to resist. Tahir and Tib, the young men we met earlier, had fallen deeply in love with their Christian captives. After being imprisoned for sodomy, the two Ottoman men were eventually released, but their lovers remained behind bars, not willing to be separated. The Christian nobleman escaped prison, reunited with Tahir and Tib, and in a shocking act of devotion, converted to Islam just to be together. They hoped that by entering during the Ottoman era, they could live freely. It was a gamble born of desperation, but it wasn't enough to reverse the tide of history. By the late 19th century, the glory days of the male beloved were over. Women had taken their place in the courts, and public affection turned toward young girls. Ottoman writer Ahmed Şevdet Pasha lamented, "Woman lovers have increased in number while boy beloveds have decreased. It is as if the people of Lot have been swallowed by the earth." And just like that, an entire era disappeared. Today, documentation of what followed is scarce. Few dared to preserve this controversial chapter of Ottoman history. But if we dig deep enough, the stories are still there, stories of boys loved and lost, of courts that whispered their names, and of a love that bloomed even when it wasn't allowed to survive. Tahir and Thib remind us that no matter how harsh the world becomes, love, real love, will always find a way. Whether in the golden rooms of a sultan's palace or the dark cells of a prison, passion doesn't die, it adapts, it endures, and sometimes it escapes. So what do you think? Was this hidden world a testament to tolerance or a mask hiding darker truths? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more shocking untold stories from history's darkest corners, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us on this journey through the past.